birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Happy Thursday and happy birthday once again to us as we celebrate a year going this venture into trying to tell the truth.
Yes, and if you want to support us, remember you can go on our website. You can donate at thelocalspin.com/GRA, Get Real America. And if you have a business, advertise with us and want to take on another investment, become an investor.
Yeah, we're cheap.
Yeah.
No, come on.
Yeah.
You'll hardly notice it.
Yes.
And it will certainly help us as we try to get our little voice in the wilderness here of getting rid of the lamestream media. You know, every other media organization that you see in this town and elsewhere is run by corporate. We're not. And nobody's looking over our shoulder telling us what we can and cannot say. Once in a while, we're in purgatory with YouTube and others for telling the truth. It's like at Morris Brown College in Atlanta, where they are putting up the mask mandates again. These are the dumbasses who are educating our children.
Yep. Bill, I don't know I wonder how it's going up there. I mean, I don't know if the kids are just going to go along to get along, but I will not be wearing a mask.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe it was because they were worried about those 19 people that were coming to town that are so deplorable.
It could be that. It could be that.
Mm-hmm. That came up last night. There was a debate last night, in case you didn't know.
Yes, and overshadowed a little tiny bit by the Tucker Carlson interview with the frontrunner for the Republican Party, Donald Trump. So we'll be talking about that later on in the show. But first, let's get to that debate. I do think that it was decent. I would say there was way too many people.
Yeah, there were way too many people, and there were a couple of them that should have been there in the first place. Asa Hutchinson and Chris Christie come to mind right off the bat.
Well, even the North Dakota governor, I mean, he had some good things to say, but at the same time, it
wasn't bad, and he was just also recovering. He almost got his Achilles tendon destroyed or something in a pickup basketball game he was doing with his staff. Was sorry to hear that, and there was even a thought whether he might not be able to make it or not.
Yeah, and he didn't say anything bad. He was just, I think you want to be energized by these debates, honestly.
Exactly.
And so I think letting some of them just kind of be able to debate a lot of the issues instead of the moderators continually like cutting them off instead of them letting them like go at it. I think that
too much of a time constraint. Even though Brett and Martha did a great job of keeping everybody in line and staying on point in many cases. The Larry Elder should have been there, not Asa Hutchinson, for darn sure. Larry Elder did everything he was supposed to do, and yet he got cut out of this.
Yep, and that's on the RNC. The RNC run by Ronna McDaniel, who is also a Romney. So I think that just needs to be reiterated. She is no friend of the grassroots in the Republican Party.
No, she's AstroTurf.
Yes, so for me, the person I wanted to see last night was Vivek. I think that he's young, he's vibrant, and he's saying all the things that people he addresses things head on. Number one. And the Republicans last night on that stage did not like what Vivek had to say, especially when he talked about who was the best president of his lifetime.
Exactly.
You all signed a pledge to support the eventual Republican nominee. If former President Trump is convicted in a court of law, would you still support him as your party's choice? Please raise your hand if you would.
President Trump, I believe, was the best president of the 21st century. It's a fact. And Chris Christie, honest to God, your claim that Donald Trump is motivated by vengeance and grievance would be a lot more credible if your entire campaign were not based on vengeance and grievance against one man. And if people at home want to see a bunch of people blindly bashing Donald Trump without an iota of vision for this country, they could just change the channel to MSNBC right now. But I'm not running for president of MSNBC. I am running for president of the United States. We're skating on thin ice, and we cannot set a precedent where the party in power uses police force to indict its political opponents. It is wrong. We have to end the weaponization of justice in this country.
30 seconds, Governor DeSantis.
You know, let me tell you
No, I'm sorry. 30 seconds, Governor
You
Christie.
make me laugh because
Goes both ways, brother.
you sit here in an answer. You sit here in an answer right.
Hold on one second.
You sit here in an answer.
They did have to get after the audience for booing because it was disruptive, but also Chris Christie's terrible.
Yeah, without a doubt, and he still got his shorts in a wad because Donald Trump did not make him either the AG or the vice president, presidential candidate, and that is and that's been his mantra ever since. The interesting thing, more than anything else, last night, Brittany, was that they all talked about the weaponization of the DOJ, right? Mm-hmm. But yet they said they wouldn't support Donald Trump, and Donald Trump deserved to be arrested, or Mike Pence still went on with his nonsense about the president. Should be in jail if he did all this stuff, and if he was indicted of all these things, and how can we support him if he's indicted of all these things? These things are made up. These are phony charges. They're doing what the opposite of what the opposition is doing. Donald Trump has taken one for the team of what the Biden administration and the Biden crime syndicate is doing. And yet they say that they wouldn't support Donald Trump if he gets arrested and all these charges are stick. They are phony charges. That's what they're talking about. So they say on one hand, the DOJ is weaponizing all this stuff and coming up with these phony charges. But if Donald Trump is convicted of those phony charges, they're not going to support him. This is talking out of both sides of your mouth, but politicians are good at that.
Well, not only that, but Bill, when you look at what happened last night on the debate stage, none of them are willing to really go after climate change. They're not willing to, Debbie Haley, who I thought had a good job last night, and maybe was at least a shining star to a degree, said, "Yeah, climate change is real, but we need to go after India and China." No, climate change started the day after God invented the place. All right. And these, I think Vivek did make a point when he said that all the stuff that the climate change people are doing is what's doing most of the damage. Yep. But here's the thing. The other thing that he said, I think he called them pack puppets. Is that what he called them last night? And he can say that because he is not taking money from any of these super PACs where climate change and all of these people have influence. Of course, the warmongers, they're taking money from different places too. So there were only two people that also talked about that they will not continue to fund Ukraine. I think that Governor DeSantis was a little softer on it than Vivek was, because Vivek said absolutely not. We need to take care of our country first, which I 100% agree with. And DeSantis says, we just need to, as long as it's being utilized the right way. And, he talked in that kind of way. He didn't really say, he said, not in its current state is basically what he said. Yeah. And Nikki Haley also took Vivek to the woodshed over not having any foreign policy experience, as Mike Pence mentioned also. Yeah, but also neither did Trump. And they criticized him for the way that he handled things, and he ended up with 3 peace deals. So yeah. I also think the way that we've always done it doesn't mean that we always need to do it that way. And things are not looking real good right now. And they haven't been working out for the U.S. for a very long time until Trump got in office, did some things, and now we have Biden absolutely destroying everything. So I don't think the way we've always done it is going to work anymore. Yeah, well, I used to laugh and just fall off the couch in hysteria when they talk about the Middle East peace process. And Donald Trump actually got things done and was given no credit for it whatsoever by the lamestream media. No, because it impacts a lot of these people's bottom line. They're making money off of this war system that we have currently going on. And Steve Stanton's with us this morning, of course, and he says the Jersey whale beached himself last night. Yeah, I don't think Chris Christie had a chance, and I do think that he's just a nasty person. He has attacked Trump ever since he got COVID, basically is what happened. He got COVID, and that was the end of that. Yeah, pretty much. And and now they're bringing it back.
It seemed to work in 2020, so let's bring COVID back because with the political landscape heating up, they want to make sure that you're not paying attention.
There was no questions about that last night.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's interesting, especially since we're seeing a lot of reporting coming out right now stating that they're going to require mask mandates. The thing that concerns me in our city, Bill, of Savannah, is that Mayor Van Johnson was a big proponent of the masks. He really enjoyed.
Had the big banner hanging on City Hall, mask up, and that sort of
so
thing.
Gross, yes.
No, forget that. Don't fall for this crap again. The masks were worthless. We knew that at the time. I said it several times on the air on my radio show, and I got taken to the woodshed a couple of times by some listeners who said I didn't care about the lives of kids and everything else. I do care about the lives of kids. That's why I didn't want to wear those stupid masks.
Well, so Bill, what do you think? What's your gauge on this? Do you think that people are going to be like, yes, I'll mask up? No worries. You don't think it's going to fly?
No. I mean, there's going to be some. You always have the sheep. But you will not. But the wolves are not gonna mask up.
I just hope there's enough wolves this time, because I will tell you, it was pretty lonely last time.
Mm-hmm.
I did not wear a mask in the airport most of the time. I did when I got on the plane because I couldn't afford to be on a no-fly list. But I didn't wear a mask in the airport, and I thought one of the people I was traveling with was going to have a meltdown. I'm like, it's fine.
And look at what we saw. We're going to be talking to Jay Ratliff a little bit later on the show, iHeart aviation analyst and expert on what's going on in the airline industry. But constantly on that 2 years that I had him on the radio show with me, we were most of the time we were talking about the fights that were breaking out on airplanes.
Well, I also think that, like, when you're in the mask like that, I think people are more irritable. They're like, it just creates more anxiety. And when you're
breathing more carbon dioxide, for God's sakes.
Yeah, I just think it created a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Well, it created a lot of issues for people, and flying is already like not ideal. You're in a cramped space with a bunch of people, and sometimes you're not sitting by the most pleasant person, and so you're already like a little bit anxious, and so you add the mask on top of it, and then if someone's not eating the way that you want them to eat with their mask up and down, people are fighting about that. I'm like, it's ridiculous.
It is, especially if you're in the middle seat.
Oh, the middle seat is the worst seat ever. But during COVID, I will tell you, it was lovely to fly because the middle seat was always open. It was, COVID flying was my favorite, with the exception of the mask.
Yeah, for real.
Steve Stanton says the entire debate was a waste of time. Trump has the nomination locked up, and Tucker and Trump has 156.4 million views. They won. That was the whole point. I think that
Super Bowl numbers.
Yes. Well, and I think Tucker and Trump, there was a reason that they did what they did on debate night, and it was just to prove that more people care about what Trump's doing and what's going on with Trump than they care about a bunch of people fighting over Trump. Yeah. Really, when you think about it.
Pretty much the topic last night. But we didn't get into a lot of foreign policy, other than the fact that Nikki Haley was fussing at Vivek for his stance on Ukraine and Israel more than anything else, and also Taiwan.
Well, and honestly, Nikki Haley, I don't think that she's, I'm not a huge fan, never have been, but the thing is what she's been ambassador. That's basically what she's done, right? Okay, so
she was the governor of South Carolina.
Right.
Did a great job there.
So, your foreign policy is also limited. You want to talk about it. So, I don't know. I just think it's really interesting the way they come after Vivek, but at the same time, they came after Trump too for the same things. You don't understand foreign policy. You don't, but yet 3 peace deals. So I just want to. Also, the way we've always done it doesn't mean that we should continue to do it that way, because we do need to change some things in this country. Yeah. And I think foreign policy is actually one of them.
And he also told our native allies, you're going to have to start to paying your fair share when you signed the document you said you would. All right. Coming up next, a little financial advice for you. What's going on in the financial world? Travis Chance going to be checking with us from CFG Wealth Management. Travis, on deck. Stay real.
She trains at 6 a.m. every morning. She spent years working to shave off seconds. She's the captain of her school's team. He's just a mid-pack finisher. But not today. Unfortunately, this competition was over before it even began.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes. Welcome back to Get Real America. Time to check in on what's going on financially with our good buddy Travis Chance, CFG Wealth Management, and find out what's the latest in the market and what's going on trend-wise. And Travis, every time I turn around, I hear about how Bidenomics is doing such a great job working. And when we do interviews of people on the street, they say, look, we're working 2 jobs now. One lady said they were doing an interview in Milwaukee, as a matter of fact, where the debate was taking place, and said, I've got a college degree. My husband's got a college degree. We have good jobs, and we're doing all we can to make ends meet.
Yeah, Bidenomics is so great. Why have one job when you can have 2? Yeah, it's one of those things, Bill. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. I really don't know. I don't know what the current administration feels is such an encouraging scenario out there right now. I'm really discouraged by the amount of disconnect our politicians have, with the people nowadays. And you and I've discussed this many times. It could not be summed up any better than, I don't know if you've seen the Oliver Anthony video, the YouTube video that's went viral with the song, Richmond, north of Richmond, but
Yeah.
it's the same thing. State, federal, local. It's, spend first, tax later, and just it's just not. It's not the economy that it's being made out to be. I don't know what rose-colored glasses they're looking through, but I sure would like a pair because it's interesting.
Yeah, I know, but it goes back to Travis, to the old saw from the Nazis and everybody else that said if you tell a lie long enough, pretty soon people start to believe it. So you're enjoying yourself, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that statement at all because the other one that I'm fond of is a lie will make it around the world before the truth can get up and put its pants on. I mean, and they keep repeating it, and maybe one day they think everybody will accept it. But I think that this election, and you and I are not here to talk about elections, we're here to talk about finance. But I think this election should be a wake-up call for most Americans. There's a lot of anti-Trumpers that are now actually saying, I would support the MAGA movement over the Biden movement because what I thought I was going to get, I have not gotten, and we had it much better under Trump. You might not have liked him, but you had to like your pocketbook under him. So, if we had a businessman versus a lifelong politician that was morally and truthfully flexible, I think we'd probably be in a better situation.
That's for sure. What are you seeing right now as far as trends go? People come to you and say, Travis, I'm making. How are the investments going to keep our portfolio solvent?
Sure. A couple questions that I'm getting. Obviously, Jackson Hole is this week. We've got the BRICS conference in Johannesburg this week. I've actually, and I'm going to get to your question, but I'm gonna actually go off on
Hmm.
this for just
Go
a
ahead.
moment. I think that's been a lot of the gold bugs. That's been fodder for them and gasoline for the fire, so to speak, for their argument on holding precious metals and what interest rates are going to do, and the Chinese economy and Russia and India and China and all these countries that are going to basically start their own G7, if you will. And to that, I say this. I understand that we are all living in a bad neighborhood, but the U.S. is still 60% of the global currency. The yuan is 3%. There is no way, in my opinion, that can be something that's going to happen overnight. This is 30, 40, 50 years out. This is not an immediate threat. So I think those that are watching the news and they see all this and they get these articles and they talk about invest in gold, precious metals. I'm not opposed to, as you and I've talked about, if it really makes you sleep better at night, 3 to 5% precious metals, I think that's fine. As far as the market goes, I think a lot of people are starting to get a little bit concerned because they saw the market, kind of grind higher, and the Dow, I think it's up 4% for the year. S&P's up a bit more because of the seven stocks, but they've seen a pullback in August, and after the run we've had, it's not uncommon to see a 5% pullback. So the economists that we follow and the ones that I think actually are reading the tea leaves correctly, I think this year is going to end higher than we are right now. I don't know if that's 1% or 10% higher, but it's going to. I think it's going to end higher than we are right now. I think next year is going to actually be a decent year. I don't think it's going to be a 20% rip, but I think it's going to be up. And my crystal ball, Bill, does not extend past the 2024 election because I don't know who's going to win. You don't know. None of us do. And I think depending on what that party, if one party takes over, does with the potential end of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, I think could have an impact on where our markets go from there. So 18 months, that's kind of my forecast. But after that, it gets kind of hazy.
Yeah, well, I think people need to understand that, Travis, that how they vote is what is the outcome that we have, and not going after our own oil, which would reduce the prices of everything because of transportation costs and everything else that goes down, production costs, manufacturing costs. People just don't seem to make that connection, and if it's a shame we don't have a news media in this country. But nevertheless, we're trying to, in our little voice in the wilderness, is trying to get people to understand that how they vote is actually going to affect them. So we do have to, unfortunately, we do have to talk politics.
Yeah, Bill, you know my passion for politics. Yours is pretty much on par. I think sometimes we forget we get the politicians that we deserve because if you
Hmm.
don't vote, you're basically getting what you deserve. You have no reason to complain because you didn't exercise your franchise and exercise your vote in our country. And you are 100% correct. We right now have got an administration that has weakened our oil policy, has weakened our reserves, and now all of a sudden, we're seeing oil start to creep up because we're still beholden to OPEC, and we're still beholden to the Middle Eastern countries that can kind of keep us, I guess, for lack of a better word, I hate to use this, but they can hold us hostage. No
Hmm.
pun intended. And I do believe everything you just said is accurate. If we would go back to the policy under the previous administration, inflation would die and wither on the vine because the amount of deflation that would happen whenever our oil can drop our prices
Hmm.
would be staggering. And I think that would give everybody a chance to get back on their feet. I think that would give us a real good step in the right direction going forward. But I don't think that obviously this administration cares what I think or you think. So
I understand. Maybe
that's
I ought to go
just my
glue my
opinion.
hand to a Starbucks counter somewhere in Washington to complain about not going after our own oil. It just it's just
Yeah,
amazing
absolutely.
to me. what happens. As far as the market goes right now, Travis, we hear things about whether or not once again we talk about the Fed, what they're going to do, and people are still nervous about the fact that they hear all this stuff. What they hear from the media all the time is that that they don't hear the fact that the Chinese economy is in shambles at this point. But everybody thinks that China is just roaring.
It is a shell. Yeah, the U.S. economy. I'll kind of put a bow on it. So the U.S. economy, even with the Fed policy that we've had that has been punitive at this point, this is not restricting. This is punitive. We have still continued to push forward. I heard a statistic earlier today, and it was talking about the fact that the U.S. economy has grown by 70% over the last, I think it's 5 to 10 years. I want to say maybe closer to 10 years, 5 to 10 years. The Chinese economy, according to their reports, has grown like 300%. But their stock market is 15% lower than it was whenever we started this transition. And the U.S. economy is up 300% in the stock market. So, yes, you are 100% correct. We are the best game in town. China is a shell. I think Xi Jinping I hate to use the word liar, but I don't know a better way to say it. His 50-year plan of Chinese dominance, I think, is crumbling around him. The U.S., even for what problems we have, is still powering forward. And I'm encouraged. I think if Powell would actually stop or at least go to a wait and see, I think we would be able to power through this, push through. I think you'd see interest rates start to tick back down. Home values, I think, have to come down a little bit, but we'll see if that happens because of the difference between price or supply and demand. But I think we are the best game in town, no doubt about it, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. I've been out of the country a lot this year. I can assure you there are no lines to get in there. There's a big one to get here, and there's a reason.
Mm-hmm. And also, where you were the people were wanting the U.S. dollar still.
I told you, almost every country I went to, I said, do you take U.S. dollar? And yes, please. I mean, if that doesn't tell you all you need to know, I don't know what does. They don't want you to exchange your money for theirs. Give me your money, because I know your money, as flawed of a system as you guys may have, is better than our collapsing system.
Well, that's encouraging. And one of the things that we need to do is at least convince people to see somebody like you, or pick your financial advisor, look them up on Angie's List or whatever it is, which is now Angie. But to get advice from people who actually know what they're doing and and do this for a living, because most of us are having trouble living our own lives, much less having to look into finances every day.
Bill, you hit the nail on the head. Other than I don't participate in Angie's List because I don't give Angie a kickback, so we can't do that. I'm just kidding. But no, you're correct. I mean, let's face it. You can buy an airplane. You can Google and get a manual on how to fly it, but that does not make you a pilot, and that does not give you confidence when you get up there and hit rough air. That's what someone in my position can help someone do, is not only be able to enjoy the plane, but also enjoy the trip and the ride along the way. You're going to hit turbulence no matter what. It's how you react to it that's going to make all the difference. So, yes, I could not agree more. Sometimes it is nice to get a second opinion, because if what you thought to be true wasn't true, when would you want to know? Immediately. So.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right, let's do the shameless self-promotion bit. Travis, how they get in touch with you?
Absolutely, Bill. 877-269-0839. That's 877-269-0839. Or they can visit us on our website at chancefinancialgroup.com.
All right, thank you very much. We'll catch you at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning on WTKS.
So it does matter when you vote how your money plays out, doesn't it?
Exactly. And Travis is the real deal. But get somebody that knows what they're doing with your money. Meanwhile, coming up, what's next in the Friendly Skies Are Not So Friendly? We're going to learn about a pilot that got so frustrated he took an axe to a gate, and also some near misses that we need to be aware of as well.
When I grow up, I want to work for a woke company, like super woke. When I grow up, I want to be hired based on what I look like rather than my skills.
I want to be judged by my political beliefs.
I want to get promoted
based on my chromosomes. When I grow up, I want to be offended by my coworkers and walk around the office
on eggshells
and have my words policed
by HR. Words like
grandfather,
peanut gallery,
long time no see,
no can do.
When I grow up,
I want to be obsessed with emotional safety and do workplace sensitivity training all day long. When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder.
Just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist. I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
It's time to grow up and get back to work. Introducing the #1 woke-free job board in America, redballoon.work.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America. Time now to check in what's going on in the skies, friendly or otherwise, with our good buddy Jay Ratliff, aviation analyst and expert. And Jay, I understand that there was a United pilot who was a little impatient in getting into a parking lot here recently.
Yeah, I think he was trying to get out, as it was. But this was a Kenneth Jones. He's 60, I think 63. He's a United pilot, United Airlines, and he was in line trying to get out of the Denver International Airport. So he's in this parking exit lane, and I guess they were having problems with the exit gate. And I guess this guy had just reached his limit. So he grabs an axe out of his car. Interesting that he had one. Goes up to the gate and starts whacking away at it. And airport employees came over, kind of got him off to the side. Airport police showed up, arrested him. I mean, he created about $700 in damage. But here you have a United pilot in uniform whacking away on this this gate. And of course, United Airlines removed him from service pending an investigation. I suggest he may have anger classes coming. But Bill, do you drive around in the with an axe back? I certainly don't, but apparently this pilot does.
Well, yeah, I have emergency supplies in the back. I've got an emergency kit that that Nissan provided with the car, but I also carry a lot of tools because I do a lot of I have some honeydew lists for my wife sometime to go to some of these rental houses. But I do have a little hatchet, and hammer and things like that. I don't have an axe.
Well, you and I both have self-defense weapons, but I can tell you, we don't want it to be an axe. I want to be able to resolve issues from a distance.
Exactly. I do have a little sticker on the back of my car that shows a gun, and it says protected by a high-speed wireless device.
That's exactly the case, my friend. Absolutely. But we'll see where this goes. And look, this may have been a situation where the employees had been pushing the airport for weeks or months to fix something, and they didn't. And so it could have been this pilot just said, enough of this. I'm just going to whack it off and just, so that we can get in and out of here, because he was tired of the airport not fixing it. Now, I don't know if that was it or this guy was just in a normally bad day that somebody caught on video. But, gosh, it just... if you're going to do this, at least take off the United Airlines pilot uniform before you do it, because That's
Yeah,
not
that's
the pilot I want on my pilot.
that's exactly right. Oh, geez, I hope it doesn't. I hope it's not career ending. For goodness sakes, God knows we need the pilots these days.
No,
But
no,
speaking
no,
of
no, no.
which, I'm just wondering about this air traffic control situation that we have now. I understand that we're having a little too many near misses to be comfortable.
One of the things that you and I've talked about are some of the near misses that take place from time to time.
Hmm.
And we talk about them every so often. But the New York Times decided to really do an in depth investigation. And I'm really glad they did because they went in and looked airport by airport to see these number of near misses. And if you and I talked about 30 in a year, I would be alarmed. I really would from a commercial aviation standpoint as far as near
Hmm.
misses. Bill, they found 46 in a month. Last
Good
month, there were
Lord.
46 near misses. One of them involved a Southwest Frontier flight where the vertical separation was less than 100 feet. And if that doesn't alarm you, it's nuts right now what's going on. So, of course, the issue is okay, why isn't the Federal Aviation Administration doing more to be transparent in this? And what are we doing to fix it? These are at airports across the country, and it was earlier this year that the FAA came out and said, look, a lot of this can be resolved with increased technology. So we're going to put $100 million into 12 different airports. Some of the 12 airports they picked haven't even had a near miss. Airports like Austin, that's been well documented with an ugly near miss, they're not getting a penny. So you're kind of scratching your head saying, wait a minute, how are we determining which airports get the money? Because we're having issue after issue at airports around the country.
Yeah.
Personally, I think because most of these are human error, I think a lot of it is either fatigue because of people being overworked. That's what the FAA is saying. But I think there's also a degree of complacency because when you have the safest air ever of commercial jet travel, and you and I have talked about this before, it's human nature to become complacent.
Exactly.
To maybe not check all the boxes or everything, because goodness, it's been February 12th, 2009 since the last time we had a major commercial aviation accident here in the United States. Thank God for that. And a lot of work has gone in between then and now to make things safer. But we're so close on so many occasions from a disaster taking place. I'm telling you, there's no way, given the technology and the training and the personnel we have in the cockpit and on the ground, that we should be having a third of these issues, let alone 46 close calls in a month. I mean, there's just no excuse for that. And sadly, I honestly think, I want to be so wrong here, but it's how things work in aviation. You have to have an accident or really near accident before a lot of things get done from an emergency standpoint. And you and I are on the same page. We don't want people to die to be able to have okay, now we need to fix this problem. Clearly, the New York Times came out and said, we've got a big time problem, and thank you for that. And they continue their investigation. Hopefully we can get more from the FAA.
Well, what is the FAA saying, Jade? I mean, do we hear? Is it what kind of reaction are we getting, especially when the New York Times, who does an accidental stumbles across an accidental act of journalism to find out this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, me too. I thought, is this really the New York Times? But the FAA's initial response was they need more money. They have a shortage of air traffic controllers, which they do, and a lot of the ones they have are working overtime. So there's a fatigue factor. And I totally get it, totally understand it. But that's not the only thing. I mean, you and I talked about earlier this year a Delta jet that was taking off on an active runway, an American Airlines jet down the runway that was about to cross with instructions to hold short. Don't go across the active runway. They misheard, and they're taxiing slowly across this active runway as this Delta jet is barreling down the runway to take off. Now, the rotation point where the aircraft for Delta would be taking off is past where the American Airlines jet is at. So the Delta crew noticed what happened, slammed the aircraft in reverse, laid on the brakes to make sure there wasn't an impact. But it was a close call. And that was simply because there was a miscommunication where the air traffic controllers clearly said something. The American airline crew read it back, but didn't stop where they were supposed to. And, you know, I think probably the biggest surprise to me in all of this comes at a time when we've got fewer flights operating than normal. Because remember, we still have hundreds of airplanes parked because we have a pilot shortage. And because of that, we can't fly as many aircraft as we would in a normal course of a day. So we've got all of these thousands of fewer flights, and yet we've got this much of a drastic increase in the number of close calls. It doesn't match up. So to be having this many with fewer flights is certainly a concern, because I think I'm testing my 60-year-old memory here, but if you're going to be involved in a crash, I think the odds are 1 in 11 million. So it's still a real good chance, safest way to go for travel. But then I looked up and said, hey, what's the chances of me winning the lottery? I don't play the lottery, but if I did, it's like 1 in 300 million. So I've got a better chance of being killed in an airplane crash than I do in being, winning the lottery by 27 times or whatever. So it just amazes me that the numbers are as high as they are. And it should serve as a wake-up call, because if we don't have members in Congress jumping up and down screaming at this, and we've got to do, and of course they're going to get their committees together, they're going to meet, they're going to give the perception of doing something. But I'm sorry, I mean, you've got this kind of a near disaster over and over and over and over. If it's not time to do something, good Lord, I don't know when it is.
Exactly. I finally talked Pam into getting back on a plane, but she said only if we can get a direct flight to wherever we're going. She don't want to change planes anywhere.
Right. Yeah. We want nonstops as well, but Sherry and I were flying yesterday from Orange County to Atlanta, and then they had a maintenance issue out there that kind of kept us hanging around California for an extra hour. And after there, I have to put tropical storm in quotes. And the earthquake, we were ready to get out of there for sure. So, but it was just the airports are crowded, the flights are packed, and this is not the time to be having all these near misses. And to see 46 episodes or incidents last month, that's a scary, scary thing.
Sure is. As we wrap it up, Jay, any amusing stories for us this week?
Well, most of them have been issues. I mean, we just left Orange County yesterday, and they had an Alaska Airlines flight that came in, and the left landing gear collapsed on landing. They had no idea that it wasn't fully locked. Apparently, the crew wasn't aware of it. So they come in for what's a normal landing when the left main landing gear, that's the one under the wing, collapses. Aircraft goes left, sparks are flying everywhere. And you talk about people panicking, and rightfully so. A lot of concern there, but we've had these types of situations happen a lot. You also see a lot of flat tires on aircraft this time of year, and the reason for that is because given the excessive heat, a lot of times when a crew lands, if they're a little too rough on the brake and apply a little too much pressure, it can actually cause those tires to overheat more, and boom, they explode. And of course, then they're stuck on the runway for like 90 minutes until the tire can get replaced. And that creates a lot of issues. So we're dealing with a lot of heat in the country right now. And that's affecting things from a weight and balance standpoint and the airline's logistics. But look, we're coming into the last 2 weeks of summer. For the most part, it's been a pretty decent summer to travel. And airlines and the TSA have done, for the most part, a pretty good job. And certainly we want it to continue for the next couple of weeks.
All right, sir. All right. Well, thank you. Glad you're back safely, and continued safe travels, and always appreciate the update, Jay.
It's always my pleasure, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. God bless. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Have you ever boarded a plane and thought to yourself, I hope the pilot is a transgender refugee? Have you ever gone to the emergency room and said, I hope my medical team is incredibly diverse? Have you ever moved to a new city and said, I hope the police department hit its equity goals for the year? If your answer to these questions was no, if you just wanted the most qualified candidates for the job, then you are normal. But we have a lot of very not normal people running America these days. Left-wing politicians believe skin color or gender identity should determine who gets the job. Democrats used to care about the middle class. Now they just care about your race and your gender. And as long as Democrats stay in power, it will just keep getting worse. Stop the bigotry. Stop the insanity. Paid for by Citizens for Sanity.
Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a ride. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934 with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard this morning here as we wrap up the week for us. By the way, I want to welcome our fellow Kiwanians to town for the Kiwanis Georgia District Convention that's going to be taking place this weekend.
Oh, that's very exciting. Anyone you're excited to see?
Just meeting some of the fellow Kiwanians from around the district.
Okay, that's
Kiwanis
awesome.
is divided up into districts, not states. So Georgia is in itself a district, but you have like North and South Carolina are one district, the Carolinas district. So we have like 35 districts.
Okay, awesome. Well, that will be fun. Yeah, that'll be a fun
absolutely.
Weekend. Also, today is the Savannah City Council meeting.
Mm-hmm.
It's election time, so I think it's a good idea for you to understand what they're voting on, what they're passing, what they're not passing, and I would love to hear what the mayor has to say about the new COVID stuff. We'll see how he feels about that. I don't know if anyone's going to ask that question, but I would love to hear the response.
Yeah, boy.
Sorry, I'm looking for our comments. So Steve Stanton says that Nikki Haley is a card-carrying rhino. And Lizzie laughed at Steve Stanton's comment. And the worst fire in 100 years. Where's Lindsey Graham, Liz Warren, and Dick? I'm not denying Dick. I'm not sure who that is. They're all in Ukraine. And then this is what we're going to be talking about next. First, I'm going to get to Lizzie. She says, for the reason for the pilots is reduced mediocrity in hiring affected air traffic control quality, 100%. And Steve Stanton Sr. says, breaking news, real Donald Trump garnered over 160 million views, making it the most watched interview of all time. It surpasses the 1993 Michael Jackson and Oprah Winfrey interview, which previously held the title with an estimated 90 million viewers.
And by the way, a pox on both houses to Fox News for ordering the security to block Don Jr. and Kimberly Guilfoyle from the room last night, for the post-debate spin room last night. That was pathetic.
Yeah, well, and actually,
pathetic.
Here's the thing. Fox News, they need to get over themselves, because if they don't, what they're doing is they're trying to pick the winners and losers and also give airtime to certain people and no airtime to other people. I have heard that they are not allowed to talk about the Tucker Trump interview. If that happens today, that is wrong. That is very, very wrong. Yeah. And Don Jr. actually had something to say about how they blocked him out of the Fox News.
Right now, trying to ban people from actually having discourse about politics.
How un-American.
Probably shouldn't surprise any of us, but that's what it is. And I've been told by others that I would be able to go in. So they said we were able to go in, then they said they weren't. Now that we're here, and the candidate that
said you can't go in the spin room.
They're telling me right now, Fox won't let me into the spin room.
That's what the American people should know. This is the kind of
they're telling him he works for security here, but they're telling him that I'm not allowed to go in there. Because the candidates that they've been boosting while simultaneously trying to cut down Trump for the last, 2 years, didn't perform as they had hoped. So they can't have someone who can maybe be a representative of my father. Just like a few weeks ago when I was canceled after the first indictment, I was scheduled to go on. And about 5 minutes before I'm on, I found out I'm no longer on, because apparently I wouldn't be a great surrogate to talk about my father's indictment. Just so we understand what we're dealing with here. So it shouldn't surprise any of us. And it's also why Trump was 100% right to not go to this debate.
Exactly.
It's beneath him, and when you know that you're walking into a setup because of exactly these kinds of circumstances, you understand exactly what's going on in mainstream media, even conservative.
It's very
I like to knock the one side, but I got to call balls and strikes. This is no different than what we see from the Democrats. It's no different than what we're seeing from the Fulton County DA when they're trying to put a gag order on Donald Trump so he can't defend himself in court proceedings. And more importantly, to function as an intimidation tactic for anyone else who would defend him, where the DA there is then saying, hey, we're going to add you people to the indictment if you take part in this. I don't know, guys, doesn't reek of democracy. All the people that have been screaming that for the last 6 or so years, especially during the Trump presidency, when I believe we had a lot more freedom than we do now, or certainly since this administration's taken over, are strangely quiet. But I guess we shouldn't be.
There you go.
I do think that Fox will pay for that.
Yeah.
I think Fox will pay for that. I think that people are, well, here's the thing. When you have over 160 million views, and I'm not sure what the numbers were on the debate last night, but I am sure they are not good.
I'm sure they don't come anywhere, even if they are good, they don't come anywhere close to that.
No, definitely not.
So,
and Fox, man, get it together. You're going to be the detriment to the Republicans this year.
Meanwhile, the Democrats who are in charge up in Atlanta and the DA's office, a pox on both their houses as well. With the situation, Rudy Giuliani, turned himself in yesterday, among others.
Yes, and I want to give David Schaefer a shout out here. He is hilarious. He is the former chair of the Republican Party, and he got his mugshot taken yesterday, and he changed it to his profile picture. I think we have a picture of his mugshot, which I find quite.
To Georgia, and I'm feeling very, very good about it because I feel like I'm defending the rights of all Americans, as I did so many times as a United States attorney. People like to say I'm different. I'm the same Rudy Giuliani.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have the clip of Giuliani saying, you know what, I'm fighting for all Americans right now. I have not changed the person that I am. I fought when I was mayor, and I'm fighting now.
Yeah, he did a great job as mayor.
To Georgia, and I'm feeling very, very good about it because I feel like I'm defending the rights of all Americans, as I did so many times as a United States attorney. People like to say I'm different. I'm the same Rudy Giuliani that took down the mafia, that made New York City the safest city in America. reduced crime more than any mayor in the history of any city, anywhere. And I'm fighting for justice. I have been from the first moment. I represented Donald Trump, an innocent man who has now been proven innocent several times. I don't know how many times he has to be proven innocent, and they have to be proven to be liars, actually enemies of our republic, who are destroying rights, sacred rights. They're destroying my right to counsel, my right to be a lawyer. They're destroying his right to counsel. It's not accidental that they've indicted all his lawyers. Never heard of that before. In America, all the lawyers indicted. Now, whether you dislike or you like Donald Trump, let me give you a warning. They're going to come for you. When the political winds shift, as they always do, let us pray that Republicans are more honest, more trustworthy, and more American than these people in charge of this government. Because if our government is conducted this way, and the system of justice is politicized and criminalized for politics, your rights are in jeopardy and your children's. Donald Trump told you this. They weren't just coming for him or me. Now they've indicted people in this case. I don't even know who they are. These are just regular people making a normal living. They're going to bankrupt them. They won't convict them.
It brings back the preacher in the late 1930s when Nazis were taking over and Hitler was coming to power in Germany. And he said, first they came for the communists, but I wasn't a communist, so I did not object. So then they came for the socialists, but I wasn't a socialist, so I didn't object. Then they came for the Jews, but I wasn't a Jew, so I didn't object. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I'm not a trade unionist, so I didn't object. And then they came for me, and there was nobody left to object.
People need to understand that this is way more serious than just, Trump,
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing. It's like, it's really not about Trump. And Trump's been right the whole time. They're only after him because he's standing in the way of coming after the rest of the American people. And I mean,
This is one of the things that bothers me, that Vivek is the only one who is standing up for the constitutional rights and how scary this is, whereas the others are trying to attack Trump in some way or other or twist it in that fashion. It doesn't matter that it's Donald Trump. It matters as to what they are doing to the Constitution and how they are weaponizing the DOJ.
yeah, it's about right and wrong. End
Exactly.
of story. Doesn't matter if you like the person or not. It's wrong. If they did this to, I would say Biden, but he's beyond help.
We haven't had a single prosecution of anybody who was burning down cities in the summer of love 3 years ago. Not a single one of the federal building that was attacked in Portland, Oregon. Police were attacked. In fact, I think some were even, they had lasers pointed in their eyes. I think some of them were either blinded or, got partial vision impairment because of these bastards that were out there trying to tear down the place.
Yeah. And let's get to some comments before we wrap the show today. Lizzie Warren says, Fox calling Arizona 1 second after the polls closed was a blatant example of picking winners. It gave cover to the vote counters.
Exactly.
Fox aspires to be detrimental to the Republicans. And I'm embarrassed for all Georgians, says Mary McCann Hybrider says, Fulton County is a clown show. I'm embarrassed for all Georgians. Lizzie Warren says, this totally undermines the ability of defendants to get a fair trial, and attorneys know they will be targeted. It's clear we're living in the 1930s Germany. Bill, growing up, we never heard the phrase, you can't say that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I think that's what we're dealing with, Bill. I think when they start going after attorneys, what is that going to do for everyone else? When we need an attorney, who are we going to call? Because there's going to be no one if we allow this to happen. Mm-hmm. It'll get interesting because today Trump is surrendering in Fulton County. Don't know what that's going to look like. I'm sure we will see the mugshot later today, as that is their main goal. And what they really want to see is a mugshot so they can plaster that for 2024.
I hope he takes up what Dan Bongino suggested and said, go ahead and arrest me. Call their bluff. What are you going to do? You're going to arrest a former president of the United States? What are you going to do? Where are you going to put him?
Are you going to shut down the federal prison?
Yeah.
That will be interesting.
Yeah. What are you going to do with his security detail?
Yep, it'll get
The
interesting.
Secret Service.
Can't wait to talk about that on Monday. So hopefully you guys can enjoy your weekend, and we will see you guys then. Make sure you become a member, subscribe. If you own a business, advertise with us, and like and download our app.
That's the only way we'll stay here. We need all the help we can get. So,
Thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you guys next week.
Take a chance.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday.